Welcome, everybody, to episode 86 of Two Goalies, One Mic. I am Duane. I'm sorry you were without Cully tonight, but unfortunately couldn't make it. Stuck on the ice as per usual. But fear not, we had producer Steve making his first appearance here in a while. Steve, how are we doing tonight, man? How's it been?
Living the dream. Got to go to that Avs game on Saturday. That was the most energy I've seen in the stadium all year. That's for sure. Like that aside from the home opener against the Habs where we won 5-1, the building has not been louder since. It was a pretty intense evening. I know we're going to get into that a little bit later, but it was a real good time.
Yeah. It's been very up and down for the Buffalo Sabres, 100%. You saw a phenomenal effort against Colorado a few days ago that left us wanting more. You saw that a miss penalty call against Rasmus Dahlin late in the third that ended up costing us in the end. And then obviously kind of some shortcomings in net for Buffalo from Dustin Tokarski early on really cost Buffalo quite a bit. And then obviously, let's not try and get into what happened yesterday against Columbus, which was an absolute 7-3 shellacking.
Yeah. To Tokarski's credit, he did kind of settle his game down after that first period. He let in those couple of softies, but he did kind of seem to get control of his game after that. I think one of those two goals was the one that kind of bounced over his head and fell directly behind him. That's one of those act of God goals. No one's stopping that. That's like something out of Space Jam. That's a fluke. But
unfortunate.
There was I think there was a real soft 5-hole goal like the first one he let in. You got to stop those. But he was, that first period it was the biggest mark we've had against Tokarski's game. When he's not feeling it, he tends to swim in the crease a little bit. And when he starts swimming, sometimes he ends up in the deep end and it costs him,
It definitely did, yep. But before we get into all that, obviously some huge news coming down in the last couple of hours. While being interviewed on After the Whistle with Andrew Peters and Craig Rivet, Elliote Friendman reports that he fully expects former first overall pick in 2021, Michigan defenseman Owen Power will indeed sign with the Buffalo Sabres come spring at the end of the NCAA college hockey season.
Yeah, that's that is enormous news.
Very big news.
Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see if we can get a couple games in this year with the current squad we have. Obviously, a lot of the people that are currently manning our blue line will likely not be there next year. We're thinking people like Robert Hagg, Colin Miller, if he ever gets back from being injured in time to play before the deadline. There's a question mark over the head of a guy like Jacob Bryson. Will Butcher's obviously injured too, but I definitely don't see him making a return next year. So, I think realistically, I think there's only 3 people that are signed through to next year, and that's Dahlin, Jokiharju. I think Fitzgerald has one more year on his ELC. I believe Samuelson might actually be an RFA this offseason. I'd have to double check that. So of the core that we have, it would be nice to see where Owen Power fits in that framework, because that's going to help the team answer a lot of questions of what do we do? I mean, obviously Owen Power is just going to be security on the left-hand side. So obviously what you do is you secure that right side. But given how, depending on how strong Owen Power is, or if they try some sort of potential, pairing where Dahlin is on Owen Power's right side, and then you just have that powerhouse duo as one full pairing. It'll help the team answer a lot of questions. It'll help him get in the room, introduce himself, learn the lay of the land from the core of young kids that are part of the future, and not the other half of the roster that has a big question mark over its head. The question mark is probably going to be ended with a period of thanks for playing. See you around.
Yeah. It's exciting. I I look at what he's done so far. He's having a Hobie Baker like season in Michigan. He played very, very well, logged the most minutes for the most part on Team Canada at the Olympics. And then obviously Canada came up short, as did the Team USA, Finland taking home gold, Team Russia silver, and the big surprise was Slovakia, GM by former Buffalo Sabre favorite Miro Shatan, taking home the bronze. Which, I mean, if you saw any of the videos on Twitter or really anywhere, that was a huge, huge deal for that country.
Yeah, I think there was it might have been the first time they've ever medaled, or at the very least the first time in a long time. But yeah, I mean, we all knew that at least the men's tournament was not a best on best this year.
Mhm.
But even so, for decades now, it's been USA and Canada battling for the top two spots. Sometimes Russia sneaks in there, but
Yeah.
more often than not, it's John Cena versus Randy Orton. Like, we know who we're going to see. We know who we can reasonably expect to be the main event, and that's usually what it is. But yeah, it was definitely a much different tournament this year for any number of different reasons. But it was kind of cool to see, of the games that I was able to see when they weren't on at like 7 a.m. on a work day. It was cool to see. I think I caught I believe that Slovakia game was that was early Saturday morning before I went to the Avs game. I was able to catch that on cable. It was pretty fun to see them win their first medal in a long, long time, if not ever. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was it definitely really, really cool to see. Huge success for them in that country. A couple clicks for Slovakia, I tried my best to watch the Olympics this year. I mean, I caught some of it, but the time change, it made it very difficult. So I didn't really watch many games in their entirety. It was more or less like 50 to 75% of games. Normally, I caught the end when I was able to, especially if I was working. Especially I'm working, it was more difficult than anything. But obviously we got the expected matchup of Team USA versus Team Canada for the women's tournament. That was really fun to see. I know, I'm losing Brianna Decker before the tournament really even started. That was a huge blow for Team USA, but they were dominant in the round robin and the games leading into the gold medal game, and just came up short against Team Canada. But not taking it. Both those programs have come such a long way over the last decade, and they're really starting to put women's hockey on the map. I don't think it's very, I don't think it's very ignorant of me to say that that game, that rivalry is one of the best rivalries of all sports, because those are two teams that genuinely hate each other.
It's kind of how Ottawa and Buffalo kind of seem to be.
Not too sure what that means, but Mr. Tiny Corn Dog chiming in.
Somebody's champion alert, gold medal alert, something like that.
I think that's what that is.
Getting the big belt. Something like
that. I'm assuming that's what that is.
Mr. Tiny Corn Dog.
Tiny Corn Dogs.
But yeah, I mean, there's nothing like a good sports rivalry. You love to see it. Like when both of the teams are at the height of their power, it's fun to see Philly and Pittsburgh try to knock each other's heads off. When Buffalo and Toronto are at the height of their power, it's nice to see them try to take their heads off. The Avs and the Red Wings, that was a legendary rivalry for many, many years. That was a wonderful work of art over there. The California teams definitely have a little bit of animosity towards one another, just having to spend so much time in their backyard. And now I'm in most recent memory, the Battle of Alberta. Even though it's on at 10 o'clock, if I don't have a lot going on the next day, I'm definitely staying up till 1 o'clock to watch how that goes on. That's just like must watch hockey right there.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy anytime those two teams play each other in the women's tournaments, and excited, to see again. Yet, sadly, again, the U.S. coming up short and Canada taking home gold. But all power to them. They performed very well throughout the tournament. They were just as dominant, if not more dominant, than Team USA, and they deserved it. You can't sit there and look at an injury to a player like Brianna Decker and say that's the sole reason the USA lost. No, I don't think so. I think Canada was just a better team all around, and they deserve it. 100% deserve gold.
Yeah, same way you can't say that the Sabres lost last night just because Rasmus Dahlin was out of the lineup. Definitely didn't help. But Columbus came to play a hockey game in Buffalo. I'm not exactly sure what they were doing, but it definitely was not the same game that they were playing against the Avalanche the night before.
Definitely not.
That was as close as we got into that night and day. This is a team that I'm willing to pay money to go watch live, and just oof, we've got a lot of fucking work to do.
Couldn't agree with you more.
It was a big oof.
And again, Owen Power and Devin Levi representing Team Canada at the Olympics, and you have Owen Power, again, as I stated before, played very, very well for Team Canada, logged over 20 minutes a game, and had 1 point in 5 games. But I don't think you're really taking how he performed points wise and judging him based solely on that. It was just really refreshing to see a guy like him perform as well as he did defensively. I know when we had Chris Peters on our last episode of Two Goalies, One Mike, that he mentioned that he struggled a bit against Team USA, and the one game that in the matchup against Team USA that they lost, I believe it was 4-2. He's noticed some struggles with Owen Power. In that game was probably his worst performance, but he didn't even call it a bad performance. He just noticed, and I did too. A little bit of shortcomings, maybe a little bit hesitancy with the puck. But overall, a great performance from Owen Power. And like we said, again, we expect him to sign with us here in the spring, having a Hobey Baker-like season. Before leaving for the Olympics in 24 games, he had 26 points. It's over a point a game per player. Does him leaving for the Olympics hurt his chances at the Hobey Baker? I don't know. I would think possibly. Same thing with Devin Levi, who I'm not sure. Did Devin even? I don't think Devin even got.
Devin did not get a single start. He did not get a single start.
Did Pasquale get the start for, I believe, for Canada in that
final game? I believe he might have. Yeah, I believe he did.
See, I don't.
Devin Levi didn't get to play, but it probably stands to reason that a lot of the other players that are up for the Hobey Baker are likely players that were also invited to the tournament because they're the best of the crop of players available for those respective countries in the absence of NHL players there to play. Matty Beniers was playing for USA, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah.
Yep, so, Team USA. You have Kent Johnson representing Team Canada.
So these are some of the same kids in that conversation where it's like they're playing some of the best hockey at the college level this year, and it stands to reason they're first round pick kind of guys. It's hard.
Who looked very, very good for if you're a Sabres fan in their absence over Michigan was Eric Portillo. Really held the fort for Michigan when you're missing literally like all your perennial all-stars, your future NHL talent. That I think the only really bona fide stuff they had remaining in the lineup was Luke Hughes, and he performed out of his mind as well. A couple clicks for Luke, but it's like you were missing pretty much everybody for 3 of the 4 top picks that were taken from Michigan, and Eric stood on his head and performed very, very well, and kept Michigan in the conversation for the first seed heading into the tournament. I know me and you have been trying to plan a trip there. I know that kind of got dampered on with the announcement of Owen heading over to Beijing for the Olympics, which sucks and everything. But maybe we can still get there before the college season ends, or maybe attempt to even get him on for one more episode of Two Goalies, One Mike before he becomes almost entirely unattainable when he signs with Buffalo, which would be a huge bummer, right?
Yeah, it would be nice to get him on the show one more time. Kind of. Because you guys talked to him right before he got drafted, so he wasn't even a Sabre yet. It was all but certain that he was going to become a Sabre, but the pick hadn't.
Yeah, we pretty much, it was like a 99.9% certain that they were.
But it wouldn't be the first time that Buffalo has made the non-obvious pick on the board.
Yeah,
not to get into any shit like that.
Yeah, Alex.
But that said, Alex, it was just like everyone's looking at me. I'm like the center of the conversation. I'm the guy this year. And it's, and I'm the guy this year in a season that felt kind of strange just because, we were still deeply in COVID protocols and restrictions. And, he wasn't even playing in front of an actual, wasn't playing in front of crowds. So it'd be really fun to have that conversation again now that he's like played a full season in Michigan at the Yost with that hometown crowd, getting to represent his country on the biggest stage hockey has to offer, and then, sign your NHL contract. How you feeling, bud? I'm sure he's shaking in his boots to some extent, but from the conversation you guys had with him last summer, like, I can't imagine being that poised, and I'm a dude in my 30s, and this kid's a teenager with that kind of poise and composure and just that kind of vision. Like, damn, that kid rules. So, yeah, just to see, like, where he's at mentally now after, like, so many changes have been thrown at him just this year alone, and just how much crazier his life's going to get once he signs an NHL contract and probably jumps right into the league, or at the very least starts playing in the AHL with, certified grown-ups instead of fellow college kids. But I don't see any reason why he wouldn't make a start in blue and gold right away, unless it's, unless he gets off a real rocky start. I don't see him going down to Rochester anytime soon. But
no,
everything tracks that, is he going to be worse out there than Will Butcher or Robert Hagg? Absolutely not. So I don't see him getting called out of the lineup and rotated out for somebody else.
No, definitely not.
I don't see
and we seen who was it that they rotated out for Samuels? They rotated Samuelson out for
it was Hagg.
It was Hagg, yeah. He's gone at the deadline. Hagg had a terrible game. I can't buy into that, they're rotating these guys out for the sake of keeping guys fresh. No. I feel like that's more along the lines of you're trying to showcase who you plan on dealing at the deadline, which is just a few weeks away. And Robert Hagg, there's going to – I don't expect big splashes, but I expect there to be a very different looking team come deadline. I expect Cody Eakin to be gone. I expect Robert Hagg to be gone. Hopefully Anders Bjork. I think that experiment's all but done and over with. And, there's going to be a lot of new faces at the deadline. Maybe I'm not on board with bringing up everybody from Rochester just, for the sake of bringing them up. Everybody knows how I feel about that. I prefer to let them continue to play in Rochester, go win some playoff games, gain that experience at the pro level, and then bring it to the NHL with you next year. So you know what it takes to a certain extent, know what it takes and the cost of making a deep playoff run in pro hockey and, going chasing a Calder trophy, because I think that in the terms of overall development and the overall longevity, long-term success of this organization is really contingent on them succeeding down there and chasing a championship.
Yeah. We know that Jack Quinn is still injured. I'm not sure exactly what the prognosis of him coming back is, but to that end, I feel like they would need to keep Quinn down in the AHL for him to get his legs back after sitting out from injury. And until he's at that point where he feels like his game is back, it'll take we're still seeing Casey Middlestat get his wheels back. Mm-hmm. He's definitely been firing more shots. He's definitely been like more active in the plays, which is definitely good. It's not like his first game's back where he's just kind of like puck watching and a few pumps behind the play, which is, it's to be expected, but also unfortunate. You root for a kid like him because you saw that he's been putting in the work last year, and we were all set to see him finally like take that next step this year. And I think he's played like maybe 10 games. I'm actually going to look that up right now to see exactly. Yeah, he's played 9 games this year when everyone else played upwards of 50. And that's obviously awful for his development. But I guess this is more to say that with Quinn having to get his game back down in the AHL, if it takes the entire playoff series for them to win their cup down there, it's the Calder Cup, right? In the AHL.
Yeah, it's the Calder Cup. Not Calder Trophy. Calder Trophy's Rookie of the Year. Calder Cup.
Calder Cup. Yes, that's what I thought. I always confuse the two, but I just wanted to make sure it's the right
that'll
terminology. But to that end, I don't see a guy like Quinn getting the call up, and until he's got his game back, and if it takes as long as the playoff series for that to happen, then it's like, well, we're already here in the playoff series. Let's try to get that cup, and then bring him up after for the last couple of weeks of the regular season. Mm-hmm. And I do hope that they bring up a kid like JJ Peterka when that happens too. I feel like those two are kind of like, part of that same package deal. Like we want to see what we have to offer out of both of those guys. Like obviously Quinn's ceiling is a little bit higher than JJ Peterka's, but JJ has been proving himself to be as big of a point getter down in the AHL level. I mean, with Jack Quinn out, he's, far and away the biggest point getter on the team right now. I think it's like him and Mersch are fighting for that number one spot on the squad for most points on the team. So yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think we need to call up everybody. Like we don't need to see Linus Weisbach on the fourth line or, anything like that. But, if we do get some call-ups, I do hope to see the likes of, Jack Quinn back for a couple weeks. Hope to see JJ Peterka in a sweater for a couple more weeks, just to really see what we've got to work with. Like obviously, I don't see a kid like JJ Peterka being one of our top 6 forwards next year by any stretch of the imagination. But if he can sit nicely on a third line with either, whichever one of those two centers, either Cousins or Middlestat, is less on his game, who needs to take that third line role. JJ on his side, that's a pretty good guy to feed the puck to. Or more to the point, that's a pretty good guy to feed a puck back to you. That kid can make some pretty wild passes. We know Peyton Krebs is absurd.
Yeah, Peyton Krebs has been very, very impressive.
With his vision, he's fucking absurd. That kid needs to stay in the top 6.
And the line of Alex Tuch, Alex Tuch, Tage Thompson, and Jeff Skinner is one of the hottest lines in the NHL right now. Obviously, Tage has been an absolute wagon as of late. 4 goals in the last 2 games. His release is one of the most deadly releases I think we've seen in Buffalo in quite some time. And he's been fun to watch. It's been fun to see that turnaround. I think a lot of the credit goes obviously can go to Don Granato for being bold enough to make the switch to him at center to start the season when left a lot of people scratching their heads. It's like, why would you? But if you think about it, in your prototypical center, the size of the player that you want and the ability, the creativity of the player, I mean, Tage does kind of fit the bill, but he just was underperforming and very underwhelming until before this year. And you saw some shades of him turning it around in Rochester before that injury last year, and then he really kind of set this team up. I don't want to say set the league on fire, but again, has really turned his career around in Buffalo this season playing center. And then obviously the addition of Alex Tuch via the Jack Eichel trade has been a huge help on that line as well to turn Jeff Skinner's career around. Guys on pace for like 35 plus, maybe even more goals, 60 points, which I thought was impossible after the departure of Jack Eichel. But, that's been a breath of fresh air. But you definitely need more depth down the rest of your lineup, more consistency on the wings. I think down the middle, I think we're looking okay. I still would like to see a legitimate number one center. Not saying Tage isn't capable, but, how much more deadly of a player can Tage be at your second line center rather than your first line center? I think adding one more, like a stud centerman. I mean, we had that with Jack Eichel. Don't get me wrong, but that's a discussion that is dead. So he's in Vegas now. He's just scored his first goal with the Vegas Golden Knights the other night. Congrats to him. Good for him. But we've moved on, and we have Peyton Krebs and Alex Tuch and whomever we take with those 2 picks that we did get in the deal. And obviously, I would expect. I mean, it's been tough going for Vegas since Eichel came into the lineup. I think they've lost 2 and won 1, or he lost 3 and won 1. I'm not sure. I think they're 1 and 2 since Eichel's come into the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, one of them was getting blanked out by the Avalanche. But I mean, Vegas and Colorado, they've got their own thing going now. It's gonna be a fun. That's gonna be a. They got their own little bit of a rivalry going on just by the proximity. But I mean, yeah. No team is perfect. No matter how stacked you are, sometimes you have an off night, and that's not to say that losing a game 1-0 is having an off night. But losing 1-0 to another team that's argued to be one of the best in the league, it's something that can definitely happen, even if you're one of the other best teams in the league. But that's that. I think I saw a tweet earlier that Tage Thompson's numbers for his first 145 games have since been eclipsed by the amount of points that he's gotten just this season.
Yep. You are correct with that.
In 145 games, he had less points overall than he's acquired just this season. So if that is not the biggest vote of confidence in what Donnie Meatballs can do with this wealth of young talent. Again, we need depth to back those kids up. But of those 5 or 6 very young promising kids, future's looking good. Darlene's looking better than ever. Thompson's on a heater. Dylan Cousins, he sometimes his game's on, sometimes his game's off. I honestly just think he's trying to skate through the entire team too often. Like a lot of his zone entries, I just feel like he's trying to just like barrel right through. And he's a big boy. I believe he's like 6'3". It's not like he's a tiny guy. But also when you got 3 or 4 skaters in front of you trying to block your entry, like you're probably not going to get it in.
No, you're not. Definitely not.
I mean, I feel like it was working maybe earlier in the season, that method. He was definitely really good at zone entries, but I've just been seeing him getting tied up in that way a lot. Like he gets to the blue line, he gets met by 3 people, he tries to like out deke them all, and one of those 3 sticks just has enough to take him off it, and it's like, well, okay, and now it just goes the other way. And I could definitely see the frustration growing in his game, but I also feel like Dylan Cousins is the kind of kid that like he kind of wants that to like stoke the fire inside of him to just it's gonna like be that fire lit under his ass to just like grind it out twice as hard. So but yeah, a lot of these young kids are just doing things that are shit that we would not expect any of these kids to have been able to be capable of. This time last year when we were I think we were starting to chug along into that 18-game losing streak. I believe that didn't end until the end of last March. So this would have probably been like game 4 or 5, and it's like, oh boy, this isn't going good.
No, not good at all.
We had no idea how bad it was going to get, but this is not good.
No. And maybe we'll see what Owen Power brings to that, to this team once he does, again, according to Elliote Friendman on After the Whistle, does sign. And, I've kind of talked to a few people that I know from the Michigan hockey scene, and they seem pretty confident that Owen will sign as well at the close of the college season. Yeah. So, what number is he going to wear? Hopefully it's a number that is on a former player's jersey in the Sabres store where you can just get a quick nameplate change and save yourself a buck or two.
If Jack Quinn's claimed 22 as he tried to at the beginning as his few starts this year, we can't use 22. 23 is currently Matthias Samuelsson.
Well, first off, you shouldn't say you can't use 22 because it is Owen Power. He's first overall. Yeah, that guy kind of supersedes anybody really on the roster right now. So if he wants 22, he could probably have a conversation with Jack and like, listen, man, hand it over.
Yeah, but I could also see Owen being the kind of guy that's just like, it's just a number. They're going to know my number once I get on the ice, so who cares what I wear?
Maybe he goes with 45.
I could see him being the kind of guy that's just like, all right, fuck it. I'll go with like 44. I'll just double it.
I would love
twice as good.
I'm a big fan of the number 44. That'd be that would look great on him.
But yeah, if nothing else, I think if nothing else, Owen Power could be the perfect guy to be the quarterback that Darlene is on the first power play unit and that second power play unit, because I think that's ultimately like a lot of what he does in the Michigan.
It just takes a lot of pressure off Darlene too.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I mean, obviously Darlene is like a really good first power play unit quarterback. Like he does a really good job of what he does up there. And I mean, he also has Peyton Krebs now to work with on that first unit. But I think Owen Power, I mean, just you can see over most of the players he has to play against. I feel like that alone gives him some vision. But I feel like he's been serving in that role in Michigan. So, if you can find a guy like Cousins or Middlestat or somebody on that second unit, because I think the first unit's the very obvious Tuck, Skinner, Thompson, Darlene, Krebs. That's your first unit, right? So
Correct.
Yeah, so probably Victor Olofsson, Kyle Ekposo, Dylan Cousins, some other jabroni that I can't think about right now, and then Owen Power doing the legwork. Probably Rasmus Asplund. I feel like I've seen him out there.
Fresh off one of their trades earlier in the week. Obviously, we saw a trade between Arizona and the Toronto Maple Leafs that saw. I'm just bringing it up right here. We know Ryan Dzingel was part of that deal going back to Toronto, along with defenseman Ilya Lyubushkin. But then Toronto, in return for Nick Ritchie and their choice of either third-round selection in 2023 or a second-round selection in 2025. Again, that's the breakdown of the trade from a day or two ago. Between Toronto and the Arizona Coyotes, but I am just they are not done. Well, Dzingel was put on waivers by the oh wow. I apologize.
And I think that was very strictly cap dump. Worst case scenario, somebody picks him up, and then you don't have to worry about his cap anyway, or you just bury him on the Marlies. You don't have to worry about his cap.
Dzingel was placed on waivers and claimed by San Jose, so they get some cap relief there.
San Jose,
the Nick Ritchie cap relief too, him coming off their books. But we have just received former Buffalo Sabres goaltender Carter Hutton has been traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs for. Carter Hutton on his way to the Toronto Maple Leafs for future considerations. So,
but why? But why though?
I don't know.
I'm sorry,
but they have Mrazek. They have Campbell who's having a great year. Maybe just some insurance with the Marlies. I'm not too sure.
Like, is
that's a head scratcher?
Like, are they going to send him down to the Marlies and bring up Wool again? Like, what?
I don't know. that literally
was somebody seeing double in the Toronto boardroom when they made this deal? Because that's the only reason to trade for Cross-Eye Hutton. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But like, he's still and I know that I'm saying this as a Sabres fan who has some of the worst goaltending in the league this year. He's even worse.
Yeah.
Why?
Carter Hutton is not a good goaltender anymore. In the past, yes, he's been very serviceable. Even early on with Buffalo, he was very serviceable. But last season, he was just a shell of the goalie he once was. Obviously, it's not a head scratch for me. I don't know why Carter Hutton. I need an explanation for this, for future considerations.
Yeah, can we get Steve Dangle on the show to explain the rationale behind this? At Steve.
Maybe there's another trade coming on the pipeline too.
If that's not in this week's Dang It, so I'm going to be.
There's got to be another trade incoming. There's got to be something else on the way because that doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, I just
got some of the comments on the Toronto announcement of the trade. Weird, but okay. Gonna miss you. Future considerations. Good luck in Arizona. Carter Hutton has been placed on waivers. Montreal claims Carter Hutton. Trade Edmonton for a first round pick. They need a goalie. Just a lot of the snark in the thread in Toronto. It's pretty funny.
And then on the Arizona post, it's pretty great. Dubas fleeces you again. Yeah, you sure fleeced that 741 save percentage.
And he's 36 years old. This is great. So Carter Hutton is now a Toronto Maple Leaf.
He's the all of goalies.
In some universe, man. Imagine in some universe
that Toronto makes it out of the first round with Carter Hutton between the pipes. That's how you know that the world is ending.
Even on the bench. Imagine Toronto Maple Leafs winning in some weird universe. Toronto winning the Stanley Cup this year, and Carter Hutton somehow getting a Stanley Cup ring.
I will buy a Carter Hutton Maple Leafs.
It would never happen.
If that dude makes a playoff start and wins, and the Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup. It doesn't even have to be in the Stanley Cup Finals, but if he gets one start in any series and wins the game, and Toronto is our Stanley Cup champions, I will buy a Carter Hutton jersey and I will wear it to the next year's Sabres home opener. You can clip this all you want because I'm pretty sure that shit's not gonna happen. But I will do it. I'll call the rulers to get a Chinese knockoff jersey, but save myself a little money. But I will buy and own that jersey and wear it in public on purpose.
Yeah, I'm perplexed, but there's got to be some other trade coming down the pipeline because it doesn't make a ton of sense.
We really need Nancy Drew. There's a mystery here, and I need.
Yeah, it's
ridiculous.
Carter Hutton, 2 Toronto Maple Leafs, 4 future considerations. Would rather have Malcolm Subban still. For the same price. So,
Malcolm's a fun dude. Didn't have that many great starts, but he seems like a fun enough guy.
Had the save of the year.
I don't mind having him in the locker room.
Had the save of the year, without a doubt, he did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. God, so much shit happens. I keep forgetting. That was so good.
Yeah, I wish we could just pull that up and just around the back glove save that we didn't even see in real time. It wasn't until it was slowed down and slowed down after the play that you realized what Malcolm Subban did. And
let me just
make it went viral
out of place and
went viral that night and the next day. So I still think about that probably once a day. That save was just unreal. We touched on that. We've touched on obviously again Owen Power, what he's going to bring to the Sabres lineup, power play, what's going to be expected or asked from him coming into his first stretch of games at the pro level. Who's he going to play with? That's another question too.
That is a really good question.
He as a left-handed defenseman, his options are what Mark. I could see him sliding in with Pysyk. I could see that being them two, the second pairing, and Dowles and Jokiharju still being your first pairing.
Yeah, I mean that is contingent on Pysyk not getting dealt to the headline at the deadline. I think
that's true. That's true too.
I don't think that there's going to be any shortage of people asking for a stay-at-home, no bullshit, low event defenseman that plays on the right-hand side like Mark Pysyk. I mean, obviously, I would like the interest to be more in Colin Miller, but since he's injured right now, there's really.
I think he still gets dealt.
Yeah, I mean, he still gets dealt, but there's not as much to advertise that, like, oh yeah, see, like, he still can do things.
I still think Colin Miller's probably one of the better right-handed defensemen available at the deadline right now, and I still think even with him being injured, a team will pay a premium, especially if Buffalo is willing to retain most of the salary. There is a premium to be paid for right-handed defensemen. It's a numbers game. There's more left-handed defensemen than there are right. And I think that maybe you do see a team willing to give up a second-round pick for a Colin Miller, which is a win in my book, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm perfectly okay with that. I got no qualms with that. I mean, hell, if we can get a first, if we retain, shit, I'll retain.
Per Steve Dangle just 35 seconds ago, Michael Hutchinson is an .896 save percentage in the AHL, so that's why they got the free goalie. The free goalie. That's funny. That's funny. So there's your explanation right there. Maybe there is another deal coming on the pipeline.
I love the shade thrown by Jay Fresh. Carter Hutton, acquired by Toronto. Oh, dear. And it's just his stat card, and everything is in almost every single stat is just in the red. Oh my god.
I hope Carter doesn't have social media. I really don't. Stay off it, buddy. He's a nice guy too. He's a really genuinely nice guy. He takes a lot of shit for his time, the back end of his career in Buffalo, but he's a really nice guy. So I hope you don't look at social media, man, and stay away from it.
I hope no sports like anyone in professional sports or basically just anybody famous, stay off social media. Like you'll save yourself so many headaches from like sweaty dudes who have literally never played the game a day in their life trying to tell you that you're a bum. Just just keep enjoying being a millionaire that gets to play a game for a living. Like, your life rules so much harder than everybody on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Just stay off it. And I say this as we broadcast to Twitter, that your lives are way cooler than ours.
I'm so excited. I'm reading more stuff about Owen. Just so excited for this kid to get here. I can't say it enough. It's going to be.
And I do believe you guys owe him some wings.
Yes, we do owe him wings.
You and Coley owe him some wings.
From when we had him on the show, we got to make him a blue cheese guy for sure. So I can't remember if he said ranch or not. If he was a ranch guy.
I think that was Aaron Huglin. Yeah,
that would have been just Huglin.
Hugie said he was a ranch guy. I think Owen Power was like, honestly, I like barbecue wings the best. I'm like, yeah, that's a fair answer. I think he was like, I know I need to say blue cheese, so I'm going to say blue cheese, but I usually just get barbecue wings. And I'm like, that I can respect that. It's like, you know what the right answer should be, but you're also going to give me your honest answer. I can appreciate that. Yeah,
I can appreciate it too. And then let's just get real quick here before we wrap things up. Obviously, the Sabres dropped that game against Columbus 7-3. Just a night and day effort from what they had the previous day against Colorado, where you really saw a team against Colorado deserved to win, should have won. But again, as we said before, due to lack of goaltending and maybe some more help from the officiating, maybe they shouldn't have given Morton a blank jersey during the pregame ceremony.
Yeah, I joked about that that was why they threw the game. It's like, you couldn't even get us something custom. Couldn't even get us a home jersey. You're the home team.
I know some people don't want to make a big deal of it. It's like, who gives a shit? It's a jersey. It's a referee. The referee called a terrible game. Listen, it's just the semantics of it, or the just the look of it is it's a bad look.
It's bad PR. You got a guy reaching a milestone in your home
building, and you get outdone by the opposing team. It's like there's got to be some communication there between you and Colorado. Like, there's a reason why he chose to hold the Colorado jersey, because it was so much nicer. And it looked like Buffalo just grabbed a jersey from the Sabres store 10 minutes before puck drop and passed it around the locker room after warm-ups. Like, hey, let's get this guy something. Whoops, we forgot. Somebody spotted the jersey Colorado was giving them. It's like, holy shit, we got to do something here, guys. We can't get outdone in our own building. Let's get him Anders Bjork's autograph on a away jersey.
What would be amazing is if they had old players in the Sabres store, because then you literally just have to turn Horton into Morton. It's right there. You're already almost done. You just have to customize one letter.
Yeah.
And I don't know, put on the Sabres tooth paw instead of Tim Horton's number.
Yeah, guys on staff there though that can do that. You saw when David Ayers went in and the legend of David Ayers, began against Carolina. Carolina was able to whip up a quick David Ayers jersey in a matter of minutes. So there's no reason Buffalo couldn't have done something real quick. It's just laziness, just lack of attention to detail. And it wasn't, and I can care less about what the ref or what the ref's done. That's not the issue for me. The issue for me is just, you knew this was coming. You knew this was a big deal. 1,000 games officiated. No one's asking you to do what Golisano did for Teppo Newman. And when Teppo Newman played his 1,000th game, Golisano came down and gave him a Rolex, a really nice custom-made Rolex. You're just asking him to freaking customize a jersey, do something different. I don't know, man. It was a bad look. And it's not the ref that I'm mad about. It's not the lack of, paying homage to such a milestone. What pisses me off is it's just another black eye for this organization and what they've like the miniature failures they've had over the years, in terms of off the ice stuff. Just, the team's not going to be good on the ice, so do everything you can off the ice to make yourselves not an embarrassment. And it was just embarrassing. Yeah, it's an embarrassment to me. Some people can argue with me all they want and say it isn't, but it is. It's an embarrassment to me. So
it's just another glaring example that, as far as this team is concerned, to the Bagulas, it's an afterthought. Mm-hmm. It's not a top priority. If it was, they wouldn't have, handed an official reffing their 1,000th game a fucking blank jersey that any schmuck could have pulled off the rack.
Literally.
You don't have to actually care but as the owners of the club, it's actually your job to pretend to care.
Yeah, at
go
least
through the motions of caring. You don't have to actually be invested, but you still got to play the part.
Exactly. Just literally just put forth an effort. That's all we ask. Give an effort. Make yourself
or hire a president of hockey ops to do that job for you and leave the team alone.
Yes, exactly, Steve.
Just fucking do it already. Jesus, you did it with the Bills, and the Bills are good. You can do the same thing. Hire somebody to run your hockey team like a fucking hockey team. Sorry.
No,
but
it's fine. No, I appreciate the passion.
I've had this argument 1,000 times. Like, if you want to just be billionaires that get credit for doing nothing, that's great. But hire the people that know how to do something and let them do it. But
exactly.
This is just not sustainable. It's just fucking to quote the coach in Letterkenny, it's fucking embarrassing.
And if the rumors are true that the team is the portion of this team is for sale, like I've heard 49% of the team is for sale. If that's the case, then now you have people to answer to. You know what? Kim Pegula should step down. She should step aside because now you have investors to answer to, and they're not going to want Kim Pegula running this hockey team anymore. Put somebody in place that's going to put forth a better effort and put all their focus on this team and everything surrounding this team, whether it's in-game entertainment, in-game presentation, fucking hot dog vendors, the color of the seats, whatever. Like somebody that's going to pay attention to every little small detail that you've been lacking for a decade now. So, but let's get into that game. It was the Colorado game was, an unbelievable effort. You saw a hat trick from Tage Thompson. Again, just an unbelievable shot. Guy has an absolute piss missile. Every time that puck releases off his tape, it's got a, what is it called? A stream, whatever it is behind it. What is it?
Jet stream.
Jet stream, yeah. It's got a jet stream behind it. Sure.
It's got
a jet stream.
But every single one of those last 4 goals that he scored, I don't think the puck rested on his stick for more than half a second. It's just, and those are the shots that are beating the goaltenders. It's not the one where you're looking for that third or fourth pass to get that little tip. You've got a lane. You don't hesitate. You just fucking rip it.
Yep.
And boom, you just went from 16 to 20 goals in 24 hours, basically. You got your first NHL hat trick. Stop forgetting that you know how to shoot the puck and just shoot the damn thing. If you got a lane, it's not selfish to shoot it if you got a good shot.
Grip and
shoot
rip,
it. It's fine. That's what we want to pay you to do.
Like I forget if it might have been Brett Hall said it's half the time when he scored, he wasn't even looking at the net. He was just grip and rip. So you saw an unbelievable effort from Buffalo, 60-minute effort, in that game against Colorado that came up short. And then you saw just a complete dud against the Columbus Blue Jackets, losing 7-3. I know a majority of those goals came late in the third period, but it's just like it looked like they didn't belong out there. It looked like they just did not have energy or the jump right off the opening faceoff. They had once again a lead, 2-1. Gave it up almost immediately when Voracek scored. Jacob Voracek scores to tie the game, and they really never had a chance after that. They went down 4-2, or was it? It was 4-2, and then or 5. No, it's 5-2, and then they made it 5-3 on that phantom Kyle Okposo goal. Krebs getting roughed up behind the net, and during that whole scrum, puck ends up between the legs of JF Berube. A guy making his first, getting his first win since 2018, an AHL backup goaltender who I don't think that morning even knew he was going to be playing in an NHL hockey game that day, and comes in, plays very well. I think he made like 36 saves, and Sabres lose 7-3, and we'll got to lose another game to an AHL goaltender. And it sucks. I mean, a lot that can be said. Same things can be said about to other teams too. Teams who have lost to Michael Hauser and Dustin Tokarski this season. That's happened in our favor too, where we have teams losing to our AHL goaltenders. But I mean, it was just there was no sense of urgency at all during that game. And Kyle Okposo said it best in the post game that we've Everybody has to play back-to-backs. It's not an excuse. He pointed to a game on the back end of a back-to-back against Minnesota, where they played very well and beat Minnesota, and from earlier in the season. And it was, he said, not an excuse. And it isn't an excuse, man. It's something they go through every year. Every team goes through it. You should not show up with that type of a lack of energy and lack of awareness in your own end, especially they're playing their own end was atrocious. A lot of puck watching, a lot of chasing, a lot of windshield wipers with your sticks, not being physical in front of your own, not giving Anderson absolutely zero help all game. So very, very pathetic and pitiful effort in that second game.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the few games I saw where it just kind of seemed like they gave up after a certain point, which is something that we saw a lot last year, obviously. So I guess to that end, it definitely wasn't quite a Kruger night, but it was Kruger adjacent. And I'll say that because of exactly what you just brought up. Kyle posted his presser after that game explaining that, back-to-backs aren't an excuse. Our star defenseman being out of the lineup, that's not an excuse. This was a collective effort from top to bottom that none of us came out there to truly win this game. And that's the problem, and that's what needs to get better, which is a long ways away from it is what it is at a press conference after losing a dud of a game. So, to that end, it's nice to see that, even for a guy that's, after next year, his contract's up, it's, nice to see him care again, and it's nice to see that he does have that passion. And I think that's that intangible that he brings to the locker room that, his game hasn't always shown it, but this year he's really, he's finding his voice. He's finding that leadership. He's doing a lot better than he's done in years past. Is it worth $6 million? Not so much, but I mean, it's nice to see the guys that you pay money to do things genuinely care. And that's nice. So again, it's not quite a Kruger output because, it wasn't everybody just shitting the bed and skating around the ice with their tail between their legs for 60 minutes. And then Ralph Kruger feeding us something about some bullshit moral victories. Like, shut up, dude. No, that was just crap. It was crap. Stop trying to convince us it was anything but crap, which is exactly what the players did. It's like, nope, that was just bad. We had a shitty night. We played poorly. We all played poorly. I'm not going to blame anybody. I'm not going to blame the circumstances. We just played bad. And I don't think Donnie, Donnie had some nice things to say, but he was like, yeah, that was not a complete effort. That's not the game that we play. We've seen it. We've played better. And tonight was not a night where we played to our standard of excellence that we've been trying to set this year. And, obviously consistency is the biggest hurdle that this team has had to climb over. But, at the very least, even when they do lose, they give a shit that they lost. And, as somebody, I just moved here this summer. And at this point, I've already been to 8 home games.
More than me, buddy.
Yeah.
Next one's on me, too. Maybe it'll be that Vegas Golden Knight game.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that Florida Panthers game either a couple days before.
Yeah, that's true.
Or the Wild. There are a lot of good games coming in March. A lot of good teams coming through town.
But their next game is in Montreal against Montreal, Wednesday at 7:30, and then Friday against the Blues, and then Sunday against the Stars. So after that Montreal game, you have a really tough stretch of games. The Maple Leafs after that, the Wild, the Kings, so-and-so games, and then, like you said, the Panthers, then straight into the Golden Knights on March 10th, where we expect to have on Bucci from ESPN Plus on us the night before on March 9th. So stay tuned for that. That'll be a fun episode. Can't wait to talk to Mr. Chicken Parm himself, Mr. College Hockey. Excited. Maybe we'll do a giveaway leading into that episode too. You get some Bucci swag or something along those lines. So stay tuned for that. But I'm excited, for this news about Owen Power. Biggest reason why we decided to go live tonight. Sabres fans should be really excited knowing that that's on the horizon. Maybe they'll pay a little bit more attention to what's going on in Michigan too with the upcoming tournament. And I hope we can try and find a way to get to a game there before his college career ends, because we'll still have a reason to go see Portillo next year, but I'd like to see both of them if we can.
That is an interesting question to ask. If Michigan does win the big tourney, does Eric Portillo stick around for them?
I think he does. Yeah, I think he stays for one more year. I don't see him signing yet. I still think
I guess
it'd be
goalies
better for him to stay another year. Maybe even the same for Devin Levi. I know he's really just been absolutely dominant in terms of his numbers with Northeastern, but
I also think Devin's younger. I think
Mm-hmm.
Devin's a sophomore, if I'm not mistaken.
There's no reason to rush either of these kids.
Portillo's
No
junior. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to rush him, but I guess I'm also just asking, like, if I were Eric Portillo and I just won the ship, you know, do I try to move on to my next challenge in my career?
I don't think
I stick with the team and go with my development. It's a question I've never had to ask myself because I'm not a professional athlete, but it would be kind of interesting to see if maybe he walks away from the college level, wants to see how he measures up with the full grown adults at the next best level. It's tough to say.
Yeah, I don't see any reason with UPL being here next year and you expect him to be part of I'm assuming a goaltender committee with a 1A, 1B situation, depending on who they get in the offseason, or maybe they do bring back Craig Anderson again. I don't know. I actually think Craig gets dealt at the deadline. That's just me, though. I think he's had a good enough year at Buffalo where he might be brought into an organization to bring stability as a backup, or maybe be a part of a committee too. You see that. You never know what could happen. You see the Robin Leonard injury in Vegas. That's really hurt them in net. You see what's going on in Edmonton with Koskinen and Mike Smith. I mean, what they have going on there is not good enough, in my opinion. There's a lot of teams that could probably use another stable netminder, at least in the room. But we'll see. And then before we wrap up here, Buffalo Beauts playing in the first ever women's outdoor pro game over here in Buffalo at Riverworks, winning 3-0. Carly Jackson getting her first career professional shutout. Couple clicks for her.
Let's go.
Great performance, top to bottom by the Beauts on their home rink. Not their home rink, but at home here in Buffalo. To a good turnout at Riverworks. So good for them. Good for the Beauts. Women's hockey is really starting to come around. I want to say come around, but really starting to grow quite a bit.
Be a bigger force in the hockey competition.
Exactly. More people are paying attention. You see more people tweeting about it. So with that being said, this has been episode 86, Two Goalies, One Mic, brought to you by Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case. Get over to Georgia and Boulevard. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the promos. Joe Conz has been cutting for Outlet Liquor. Exactly. Be sure to that corner over there. Get over to Outlet Liquor and George Urban Boulevard for all your adult beverage needs. And just remember, this has been episode 86, Two Goalies with Mike. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button, leave a comment. Helps us with the algorithm, get noticed out there in the podcasting world, the hockey podcasting world. So you're really doing us a favor, a huge service if you like and subscribe wherever you listen or watch your podcast. So with that being said, Steve, I'm all out of stuff to talk about. You got anything else?
I will say anytime that Buffalo gets to beat Toronto at sports is great. So once again, congrats to the Beauts.
Yeah.
And those outdoor game sweaters they wore today, a little bit different from the normal sweater. Looked real nice.
I know.
That'd be a nice sweater to own. I think it would really make the blue in my eyes pop. Not quite Marty Baron pop, but still be pretty nice.
Agreed. I personally, I'm excited for the upcoming Robert Pattinson Batman movie. Already bought my tickets for the second night. I'm a big Batman nerd here.
When does that actually come out?
March 4th, but I'm seeing it the second day. So, the tickets that were available on opening night were like right up against the screen. I'm like, they're not gonna sit up there like this and try and watch Batman. But that movie looks unbelievable. Everything about it looks great. I'm excited to see it. So
yeah, is it Paul Danno playing the Riddler?
He is Paul Danno. You got Colin
That's-
Farrell playing the Penguin. Doesn't even remotely look at all like Colin Farrell. You know what he looks like? I don't know if anyone remembers this show. It was called Spin City. It had Michael J. Fox on it, and then when Michael J. Had was it Parkinson's disease? Is that what he has?
I never saw
Where he
this.
shakes. But he left the show, and Charlie Sheen took over as the lead role on Spin City. There was an actor. Well, his character's name was Paul Lassiter. He looks just like Paul Lassiter, but he has the nose. But like it looks nothing like Colin Farrell. So excited to see that. Everything I've seen about this, from the comic book nerd dirt sheets on YouTube, the YouTube channels I watch. Everything about it looks phenomenal. I'm excited. I'm not going to sit there and say this is going to be the greatest Batman movie of all time because it's got a lot to live up to between Michael Keaton and Christian Bale. Even Ben Affleck. I thought Ben Affleck was a good Batman. I just thought he was put in a tough spot with DC and the way they rush those movies trying to catch up with Marvel. So, but I'm excited and I can't wait. But I'm all done for stuff to talk about, and I'm gonna sit here, eat some some junk food, and watch Monday Night Raw.
Right on. I'm gonna start looking up an eggplant parm recipe, so I'm ready for the.
Get ready for Poochie. Yeah, I love it.
Gotta get ready.
Anyways, this has been episode 86 of Two Goalies, One Mic. Remember, Outlet Liquor, place to buy a case. Subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate it. And let's go Sabres.